Call to order the Groveland Township regular board meeting for March 11th. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, Laura, could you please take roll call?
Robert Palmer.
I'm here.
Janelle Keller. Here. Teresa Bills. Here. Jim Christopher.
Here.
Gina Mazzarella.
Okay. Everybody should have a copy of today's agenda for the March 11th meeting. Are there any questions or comments concerning the agenda? It looks okay to me.
Yeah, looks good.
If not, a motion would be in order to approve it as submitted.
I will make a motion that we approve the agenda for March 11th, 2024 as presented.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from the board?
No, I'll second that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right, I'll second it.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it's approved. And you should have copies of the minutes from the February 12th meeting for both the township and the fire board. I looked at those, they looked okay to me.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just one typo of,
Oh, really?
yeah. Chris Johnson's, spelling of his last name.
Oh.
Yeah, but that's it.
Well, I was gonna find one on page 3.
No?
It benefits you tremendously.
Oh, does it?
It's underneath your, where are we at? The resolutions,
Okay.
the 3% increase for the trustees. It's $257.50.
Yeah.
So it's just a 50 cents missing. I wanted to make sure you could
I
feed
appreciate
yourselves.
that.
Okay.
Yes, well, that's $6 a year.
There you go.
And then on page 5, second to the last bullet point under treasurer, the two things are both under treasurer. Assessor, it's just a spelling typo. And then the last bullet point says supervisor will provide a video about taxes, but I believe
It's your.
that's treasurer will provide a video about taxes.
You're right.
And I'm working on that.
Yeah.
I consulted the cable manager who told me how I should go about it, so.
You're not using undue influence.
So those are the only two that I saw.
Is he also your agent?
Okay, with those two corrections made, is there a motion to approve them as submitted with those two modifications?
I will make a motion that we approve the minutes of the February 12th board meeting and fire board minutes with the modifications as specified.
Okay, is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
By Jim, any questions or comments from the board? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's approved. Okay, thank you. Sorry for that one here, that was short and sweet too. Okay, next item on the agenda is the financials.
All right, so for primarily February into early March, township on page 3, you'll see outgoing was $25,698.75. Now, I don't think there was anything that was too unusual in those this time.
Pretty good.
For fire, it was $20,575.75. Again, I don't think that there was anything in there that was out of the ordinary. We did have a payment for Williams Ratner for $1,709.78. That's for the KOA continuing battle, so.
I think we're up to $7 or $8 grand.
Yeah, probably, at least. So that's pretty much all I have. Any questions on any of the bills themselves? If not, then I would motion that we approve the accounts payables as submitted.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
By Gina, any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, Laura, would you take a roll call on that, please?
Teresa Bills,
Yes.
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Gina Mazzarelli,
Yes.
Robert DePalma,
Yes.
Janelle Keller. Yes.
Okay, next is the, well, we did the accounts payable.
Yeah, just the revenue and expense report,
We had no amendments, okay.
well,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. I, there's, if you look under the building and grounds, you'll see that we, are a little bit over there, but
We got it in some other places.
yeah, we have it, we definitely have it, so we'll go ahead and I would like to motion that we do a budget amendment coming out of contractual services. We have about $50,000 left in that account, we're only using about 32% of it. A good, probably 20 to 25,000 will still come out for scanning, so he has a lot of scanning that we will probably be billed for soon. But that should still have quite a bit of excess funds there, so I would motion that we take $1,000 out of, all of this money will be coming out of contractual services, Laura. The account number is 101-260-801-040. And putting $1,000 into our 10, repairs and maintenance 1099s. The account number there would be 101-265-930-050. And putting an additional $6,000, so it'd be about a $7,000 move, and I'm hoping that this will cover whatever we have left for the rest of the month. That account number, the $6,000 would go into computers, internet, and RICO, 101-265-933-000. So you'll see that we're quite a bit over in that area. Everything has gone up. I think the repairs and maintenance may be the addition of MSP building. That's primarily what that comes out of. And then the lawn care, we'll have the,
Oh, you mean the extra clean and stuff?
yeah, I'm guessing that may be why the numbers are a little bit higher than what we had planned.
Well, and we had to do, I think those people come in and figure out all the cable stuff for the fax
Yeah.
machine and all that, I'm not sure
That was a couple grand that I thought it was.
where that all,
It's in the sign.
yeah, fixing the sign and all that.
Yeah, certainly it could be done that. So that would be my motion.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
By Gina? Okay, are there any questions or comments from the board?
No.
Okay, seeing none, Laura, would you take a roll call on that?
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Gina Mazzarelli,
Yes.
Ronald Capano,
Yes.
Janelle Keller,
Yes?
Teresa Bills.
Yes,
I like that one, pay the bills for the month, no problem.
Yeah. You will see a couple of areas, in fire that we'll probably make some budget amendments, but we're just gonna wait until the end. I talked to Kevin about it, and we're just gonna wait until, see how it all
Okay.
falls.
Okay. Next would be the investment reports.
oh, we're done with all these?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we got it.
Yeah, okay, so you can see the February 29th cash on hand. They're rounded off numbers to the nearest thousand because of, well, except for in, the 701 and the 464.
That's exact.
The 464 doesn't have any money at Oakland County LGIP, so Oakland County's local government investment pool hadn't sent me the statements as of the time that I submitted this to Laura last Thursday. So they're close within a couple $100 a piece. And Flagstar Bank, where our 401 common checking is, they merged with another bank in the middle of February, or before that actually, but New York something, NYCB, I don't know what the C stands for, I did, but I forgot. And so they sent statements like February 16th, statements from Flagstar, and I'm like, that's weird, why are they sending them in the middle of the month? But then, at the end of last week, they sent a second statement with a whole new letterhead, and it was for the second half of February. So Flagstar Bank is, to my knowledge, and this is why I'm bringing it up, because in the Appropriations Act, it's in our list, but as far as I know, it's still called Flagstar Bank. And so, yeah, these are accurate to within a couple $100 each for the funds that have monies at Oakland County and those would be the ones that the public funds are rounded to the nearest thousand, so. But interest rates are still steady
We've
and.
been holding a nice grand total all along though,
Mhm.
quite some time now.
Mhm.
Of course, there's money in there for the new building too, so that's part of the
Mhm.
reason the
Exactly.
funds are larger. Okay. Any questions or comments on it?
No, thank you.
If not, thank you.
Yep.
That's all, very helpful. Okay, now we're back to presentations. Seems to me deja vu, we were here last month.
Well, okay, kind of,
Yeah.
we're back to last month again.
So, I can handle this one.
Okay.
Robert Wittenberg sent an email to Janelle and myself at the end of the afternoon today. Well, he was set to come, but then, I think his kids got sick. Was it his kids or his babysitter? One or the other. Anyway,
Thanks.
last minute thing, he could not make it. He was very, very sorry. So the
Presentation too.
presentation in here, I went through that, but there's a letter that he sent, and I told him I would read it out loud. Basically, the Oakland County Treasurer's Office has done a lot of above and beyond work to try to reduce the number of foreclosures. And so if you go through this office at a glance documentation that he gave you, I just, I will highlight a couple things. That they do have 56 government units in their local government investment pool. That's the bottom right square down there. We are one of them, okay? The rest of those things are big numbers. We'll skip on over to the next page where it says that, and I believe these were for the 2020 delinquent property taxes. So this is just a for example. They had almost 45,000 parcels get turned into them delinquent in 2020. And then by the time they ended up having taxpayer, so 43,120 of them were actually paid by the property owner before ever going to anything like a foreclosure. So 1,418 of them were set up on repayment plans, and what does it say here? That they only had 368 that went into foreclosure, and 95 of them are actually potentially available for purchase at the August 2023.
If I
Yeah.
understand this chart
So-
correctly, what started out with
Yep.
44,906, turns out that there's only 95.
Correct. Due to-
Foreclosure. That's pretty darn
So
good.
that's after 3 years, so these are people with delinquent 2020 taxes, and then they consider 2020, then 21, 22 to be, your 2020s are 3 years old in 2022, but then, they do all this work to try to get people from losing their homes. And they had this MyHave financial assistance, and that in 2020, they helped 357 applicants, which the one resident here in Groveland that was assisted last summer was given her payment for all of her delinquent taxes plus last summer's tax. So she,
They actually paid it?
yeah, they paid it from this MyHave local, the assistance fund. So if you just, they wanted to spread the word. That's why they wanted to give this presentation today, to spread the word that, they are really, really trying to keep people from going into foreclosure, and they strongly recommend that you contact them. So their quick little letter here says, the Oakland County Treasurer's Office is in the final stretch of our foreclosure prevention efforts. The tax foreclosure deadline for the 2021 or prior year taxes is on April 1st of 2024. That means if these taxes aren't paid off by April 1st, or any interested party hasn't entered into a repayment schedule with the Treasurer's Office by then, the property will be foreclosed. So if you need further information, you can contact the Oakland County Treasurer's Office. They have a financial empowerment center, which provides one-on-one financial coaching and services to help taxpayers achieve their financial goals. and the Lakeshore Legal Aid providing free legal services to people who are low income and seniors. So there's phone numbers here, and they strongly encourage you to contact them if you have delinquent taxes for 2021 or prior year. So I'm gonna post this letter, the nice full color version of it, on the door, and we'll put a link on the website to this, and Facebook, probably, Janelle?
Yeah.
You know, we can
So
just,
the presentation itself is in the board packet,
Yeah.
posted online, so
Mhm.
there's some interesting facts and
Yeah, all the
information
ways
in
that
there.
So it's pretty good
Reach
that
out
out of
to people.
44,906 is only 95.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Make it into foreclosure.
Right, and I mean, I think 4 years ago, I think we submitted about 150 unpaid parcels at the end of the tax year, and we'll talk about this later, but basically this year we only submitted 80, so that's part of my actual treasurer report, but it's here, so, yeah. They don't want people losing their houses, that's
You
bottom
got
line.
through the grist of it very well.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, next would be the public hearing, the Appropriations Act, okay. Let's see if I can do this. I'd like to open the public hearing for the Appropriations Act for Groveland Township for 2024 at 7:17, okay. Let me kind of go over what I think the gist of the bulk of this is. Typically,
Yeah, this is supposed to be a 4.
I didn't catch that, yeah, the notice in the hearing.
I was gonna let you know anyway,
Okay.
I had mine highlighted.
All right,
Me too.
we'll make that a 4.
Yeah.
The typed copy had a 3 in it.
I didn't publish it last year, I published it this year, but
Yeah.
I didn't.
We
Right.
do this every year in March, and it's, the main thing that happens is it kind of lets you know what the township's gonna do for millages again for this year, and any major projects we have going, and then of course it covers whatever the raises are. First of all, I'll let you know that we are gonna again keep the millage at just under 1 mil, where we lowered it a couple years ago, and that is 0.955 mils. That's the part of your property tax that goes to run the township, okay? And so it's, what did I say?
0.955.
Oh, I'm sorry, 0.99.
0.9557.
0.9557, yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, which raises about 100,000, just over $100,000 in revenue for operation of the township. In the case of the fire department, which we've been billing at 3.5 mils, the millage actually expired in this past December at the end of that. It was a 4-year term for it. So this year, in probably, I think it's August, we're going to have a new millage to replace the fire operating budget, or there'll be no money for the fire department. And we discussed in our budget session that what we're going to do is, again, put probably a 10-year window on this one, which is what we normally do. And the 10-year window will be a 5 mil cap, but it'll be billed for December of 2024 at 3.5 mils, just like it was last year. So every year in the spring at this time, we have to decide what's the millage going to be for that next year. We've had it at 3.5 for almost the entire time I've been here. The only time we raised it 0.44 mils was back when we had that great recession of 2008 to 10 or whatever it was, and the township lost 43% of its property tax value in 2 years. And the fire department couldn't take that big a hit on the revenue. So we put a temporary 0.44 mils in it, and we rolled it back like we said we would by the end of the 10 years. And other than that, it's always been 3.5 mils that we build out here, and that's what we're planning to do with the new millage going forward for the 2024 year. So, the other things that we get covered in here are kind of the, it talks about the different account numbers for the different issues, but we also talk about whatever the raises are. I can tell you that the raises in general for everybody were 3% this year. That seems to be kind of what most of the other communities were doing. The exception to that is in the fire department. For the full-time firefighters, we approved a $5,000 increase in addition to that, because their pay seems to be quite a bit behind some of the other communities. So for the 3, soon to be, I guess, 4 other firefighters, we built some extra raise in there for them this year. Let's see, what else I have in here. It lists the banks that we use, are pretty much the same, I think, as we've had for the last year or two. You know, all the investments of the township are very conservative. It talks about the raises here that everybody got, if you wanna see what the dollar amounts are, but they're the same ones we announced last month with the 3% increase. And of course, we pay an HRA that is tied directly to the state of Michigan's guidelines for health insurance. And that is, the state of Michigan publishes a number every year. They used to do it in October, now they do it in January. It says this is how much money we think represents 80% of what health insurance should cost for an employee. And we track whatever that number is every year, and that's what we adjust our HRA allotment at. It's at that amount, and basically everybody gets whatever insurance coverage they think is appropriate for them, but it's always tied to that state-approved amount, so that we don't vary from it. We did raise one of the newer employees' base pay because she was quite a bit under what we thought everybody else was paying, other than the 3%. And then, trying to think, what other goodies have we got in here? There's the major projects are obviously the fire station. By the way, they actually broke ground on the fire station. About a week ago Monday, they had the surveyor go out here. He had to resurvey it because the original stakes were, believe it or not, 4 inches off. And the discussion was the building won't fit if the footings are 4 inches off. So they had to redo those. And then they sent the guy that's doing the piping in the ground and the cement floor. If you go out there now, you'll see there's a small excavating shovel with a narrow, like a 14-inch bucket that they dig footings with, and he's going around the perimeter digging the footings for it. So things should start to happen pretty quick. I know the building's ordered. As soon as they get the floor done, I'm sure it'll get delivered to the site, and then you'll see how fast it starts to go up. But I think we're in good shape on that. The other projects that are primarily for us going forward are really the work that we're going to approve after we have a work session for the township board. We've discussed that we want to get the property ready to start selling it and marketing it. So we're going to have to pick a marketing firm, a real estate broker, and I've got a ton of information on all of that, and decide what we want to sell parcels for. But our goal is going to be to, one, spruce up that east entrance over by the Task Force 1 building a little bit with some landscaping and a sign that says, you know, whatever we call the park and the east entrance. And so that it looks like something going forward. And then I've asked Barry that after we get the new building done for the fire station and the state police, and the road gets extended from Mavis to that, to give us a price on what it would cost to take the road the rest of the way to the back of the park and onto the easement we have from Consumers Power, so that one of the main attributes of the park is the ability to say that you can get to the ORV park from any of the parcels in our development without ever loading a vehicle on a tractor and having it, or trailer, and having to take it there and then load it and take it back somewhere else. You could drive it right out there. So we want to get that road in as a key feature of it and dress up the interior. And we think that the first tenants we'll probably go after will be the 6 or 7 lots that are along that road, because those are going to be the best ones for the people that really want to get into it. I don't necessarily think there's going to be 48 lots or whatever it is of those types of tenants for the whole park, but I think there'll be enough of them to get us a good start in it. It's a little bit easier one to do it with. We still have 2 problems that I'm working on, and one of them is getting enough electricity there to do the entire development, and so I think it's easier if we start with what will likely be smaller candidates. They have less demand for the electricity day one, and larger developments like a mega site, which would be like 50-acre site for a single purpose, would typically want sewers in. The sewers aren't in yet. As you know, we've acquired capacity in the new Kersley Creek interceptor that's being built in Genesee County, just north of the township line, Holly Township line. And the next phase is to get the pricing for the piping extensions to come down Dixie Highway and then over Perryville Road to M15. And they're working on those right now with a grant that we're supposed to be getting from Melissa Slotkin for $1 million to price that part out, so I know that the treatment plant takes about 2 years to get it completed, so we want to see if we can get something started on this project before that happens, and that's why I'm going to recommend to the board that we start with some users that can benefit from using the park and not necessarily need huge amounts of electricity like a factory site or something might be in the future. That's pretty much what's in here, I think. Is there anything else anyone thinks we need to cover on this? Because I think the rest of that's the nuts and bolts of the money in the different funds, but that's basically what we're doing. We have no road projects scheduled for this year. I do have another meeting coming up with MDOT to talk about the double roundabouts that they're looking at doing for Grange Hall Road. So that's actually moving along a little faster than I anticipated. And so our main emphasis will be getting the new fire and state police facility built and done and occupied, and then getting the extension of the road all the way up to the ORV park and dressing up the entrance to it so it starts to look like something when a prospective client comes to look at the property. I think that's most of what we had to cover here, really.
You could mention that the 3.5 mils for the 2024-25 proposed budget for the fire department is in budget.
Oh, yes, yeah. We did anticipate that people will still want a fire department.
Yeah.
So we included it in the budget for this year. And we'll have more information on that as we close, but it's probably gonna be July or August that the election would take place, and we'll certainly let you know about it then. I'm trying to think, is there anything else you think needs to be covered in there? I mean, I can go over the dollar amounts of people's salaries if you want. It's the exact same numbers we had last month.
No, I mean, I just wanna, on the fire fund, page 8, the very last bullet point. So we did approve the budget with some money likely coming from savings if necessary.
Yes.
But I do wanna, correct that figure to reflect, when we did this budget, we were basing it on the 5% projection for,
The shortfall.
taxable values going up by 5%.
Mhm.
However, when Mylan came in for board of review last week,
Oh, that's a good point.
at the end of February, he brought in the information for March board of review. And, the actual taxable value didn't go up by just 5%. It went up by almost 9% due to, transfer of properties, uncappings, new builds, etc.
That's a good point, so it makes that number, yes.
So that I calculated out, is a difference of about almost $9,000. So really that number
About
that might end up
42,000.
coming out would be about 42,000 from savings,
And actually,
as needed.
even when we did that, Chief made some comments that he wasn't sure he'd actually need that much of it anyway.
Right.
That's the way we funded it for the budget purposes, if he has to move it from one bucket to another.
So, well, that's nice.
Okay.
So, and then back on page 7, I'm not sure what this means, but about third bullet item from the bottom, usage of rental house still to be decided, consideration for park. What did that mean?
I have told Chief that house has been such a nemesis around our neck, because if you recall, the last tenant stopped paying the heating bills, and then some of the pipes froze and busted in it. And for a long time, there was a discussion on whether or not it's even worth fixing it to rent it. But my understanding is, Stacy, I think John thinks it can be fixed okay, and he's a plumber. So I guess actually not all the pipes broke, I think one pipe
One in the
broke, right?
kitchen that,
Yeah,
Okay.
so he thinks we might be able to fix it and then rent it out. Yeah,
So what is
okay.
consideration for park?
I'm assuming consideration
Is that
for
like
park would be like if we
fragment?
tore it down,
Yeah,
maybe they just
yeah,
make it.
talked about maybe it just becoming a park.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we did talk about it at that.
Not the
meeting.
house. I mean, I'm,
Yeah,
Yeah, the rental house, for the rental house.
Yeah, we
If
talked
they
about that
can't-
at the
if
budget
If it
meeting.
isn't worth fixing,
take it down.
take it down
Turn it into a
and make
park.
it look a park.
Okay, gotcha. I was just confused by the wording of that bullet point, that's all.
Okay,
Yeah.
you know, that worked real good when we first did it. Somebody rented it, it went fine, then it went through 2 or 3 rentals, and all of a sudden, the rental market kinda dropped like a rock. And ever since then, the rent was real low, and then she just didn't pay, and it took forever to get her out of the house.
Well, rentals are high now.
And that's why I think John thinks it might be worth, trying to redo it.
Things are up.
And then, of course, when she turned the heat off, the pipes cracked, it made it all worse. Okay, anything else, anyone else wanna make any comments on it? Is there any questions from the audience on it? I mean,
Where are the roundabouts gonna be on
Yeah.
Grangeall Road?
they actually wanna do one on each side of the viaduct at 101, and the one on the east side of the viaduct will be right where our entrance to the property is.
Oh,
And the one on the other side of the viaduct will be where the ramp is. And so, it's just the preliminary drawings of them, just so you know what happened, is they're single lane roundabouts instead of 2-lane roundabouts. And my only comment to him when I met with him initially was to say, you need to make sure that's big enough to get like the ladder truck, the quint's gotta be able to go around it, you know?
and semis.
And that kind of stuff, and all the semis that come out of there. And so in the comments he sent to me with the latest drawing, he made a point of saying, we'll set up a meeting to make sure we meet with your fire chief and look at all of those issues before they do it. So I think they're of the opinion that the 1-lane one they want is big enough to do that. And I guess the chief told me, I think the quint actually turns in a smaller circle than the tanker truck or the engine or something.
It might on the tanker, cause
Yeah.
it's the wheels are behind, underneath you rather than up front.
But
I
at
don't
any
know- I
rate,
don't know offhand what the turning radius.
you know, I made them aware that we have fire engines that will be coming out of there and they need to be able to get around that. And they've tried this out at another place farther up north in Michigan where they had a lot of industrial traffic with trucks, and it worked absolutely great to keep the traffic moving, so. I know I have always the same kind of concerns every time I get around about it. You sure these things really work great? Because they look like an accident waiting to happen. But their position is they're low-speed accidents and they're
Yeah.
not people getting killed, so.
101's a accident waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Which one?
Exit 101.
Well, it is, it's the most unsafe place in the whole township, so for us, I think it will be good.
Grangeall and,
But,
So they do have a double roundabout at
That's
Dorr
the
Highway
first one.
and 75
Yeah.
Dorr at exit 109. But, I mean, that's right by I-75 aggregate, so they get semis, they get all kinds of stuff
Yeah.
going in and out of there.
yeah, and even when the park is done, and the gravel train or the chipped lumber bags, you know, are not there, there's still gonna be something going through there.
Oh, sure.
And so I think it will work, but they are cognizant of the fact that we had some concerns, and so they said in the last memo, we'll set up a meeting and we'll make sure your chief is in on it with us, so we can make sure all of that stuff fits. And that's when Kevin told me, he said it's actually the quint's not the biggest turning circle, it's one of the engines or something, he said, so. I learned something new that day. So, any other questions or comments? Any from the board? Okay, if not, if there are no further questions or comments, I guess we would like to, close the public hearing, right?
Yep.
At, 7:33. Okay. So I think there's no motion for this, we just have the public hearing on it.
I don't think we have to motion to accept the appropriations act.
Well, let's do it just to be safe, okay? I'll make a motion that we approve the Appropriations Act as submitted with, one typo change from 23 to 24 on the first page.
I'll second that.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? If not, I don't know if this is considered spending money, but just to be safe, let's take a roll call, okay?
Okay, Gina Mazzarelli,
Yes.
Robert DePalma,
Yes.
Janelle Keller,
Yes.
Teresa Bills,
Yes.
Jim Christopher.
Yes.
Okay, we had nothing under unfinished business, so we move to new business. These are all the revenue notes stuff. Get past all that. We have to do this separate, we did these resolutions.
Yeah,
last
those are
time.
all-
So just
those are
our
already
copies,
passed.
Those are already done.
Keep going. Keep going.
Okay.
Get to the yellow. Tell them to get it, Jen. Get to
There you go.
I'll get it.
All right. All right. if you remember, geez, I think it's been 6, maybe 10 years. We've been with Rob Bernardi, who is one of 2 natural gas reseller agencies that the county uses for their volume purchases. And we did it for our office here and the 2 fire stations. And the difference is when you sign with them, you get a contracted amount that you pay per 1,000, whatever it is, 1 million cubic feet of gas, the units that you get. Your gas still comes from the gas company. Your usage still shows up on the gas bill, but it's billed at whatever contract rate you sign for. And the difference is, if you're with consumers directly, because at one point in time I was on one of these with this guy, and I think Lynn was the other one that was on it. The gas prices have fluctuated significantly over the last several years. And so what was around $3 went up to like 6 something. If you look at the documents he sent us here, where he talks about the rates over the different periods of time. And I think it was last year, I remember you asking, well, you know, we're actually paying a little more than what it, but it was at a part of the year where it's normally a little bit of usage. And what his bills have been over the long haul have been much better for us. So the problem is, it's hard for me to give you the exact rate, because you've got a history here of what he gave us all through 23, where it varied between $3 and
Up to 6 something.
37.67 cents, all the way up to
677.
677. But it was,
7,
yeah.
43.
And so what consumers normally does for all the rest of us that aren't getting our gas from consumers,
Oh, yeah.
they buy it out on the market at whatever the price is that time. They store significant volumes of it in the caverns that are in the ground from the evacuated gas they pulled out before. And then they sell it back to us at basically that price. So if they bought a whole bunch of it at a high price, we might be paying that for a long time. If they bought a whole bunch at a low price, you could be paying that for a long time. But our history with this guy's been pretty good. There are a couple of months, 1 year, where we were paying a little bit more than we would have, but the rest of the time, he saved us money, and I did it deliberately with him because I wanted the benefit of somebody at the county that had already looked at their utility bills and said, there's only 2 resellers we use, this guy and one other. And so we've been with him. Our contract is up, I need to tell him, but they change the price on this stuff daily. Okay, so it never stays the same for more than a day or 2. It could change 2, 3, 4 cents per MCF volume of gas. But you can see from all the stuff he sent us what we paid. There's a lot of 6s on the next page, actually, back in 22. We need to either decide we want to be on consumers' gas the way we had been in the past, or like you and I might be at home, or we want to be on this program like we've been for several years, and most of the time it's been pretty good. But I will actually have to call him if we decide to do it tomorrow to tell you exactly what the rate is, and I could email everybody, but I won't know until he looks up the daily rate for it.
And it is for 48 months.
That's what he suggested. He had it for several different,
Yeah.
you could see in his
Yeah.
correspondence, several different options, but he was recommending 48 months, and I think that's what our last one was. So, with that, I'm just asking, what does the board want to do? Do you just want to pay whatever everybody pays for consumers, or do we want to sign with him again and sign up for 4 years?
Well, you know, if you look at what the state's trying to do with renewable energy versus, you know, natural gas, I don't see the price of natural gas getting any cheaper. So it might be wise to lock in for 48 months. It's
I
kind of
think
a
we got pretty good
projection.
experience on it, so I guess if we did it once and found out, wow, you know what happened the next day, gas went to $2 per MCF, and we're paying 3 something, right? I'd feel different, but unless that happens, I think we're in pretty good shape, and I think this guy's a straight shooter. That's what his council uses.
Mhm.
I'd give it a try with this gentleman.
For, this is the one we've been using, so for another 4-year contract?
Mhm.
Okay,
6.
all right, then, you wanna make a motion for that?
I will make a motion that we continue with Executive Energy to source our bulk buying of natural gas
For 48 months.
for 48 months.
Okay, is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Excuse me, I'm sorry, take a roll call because it is for a bunch of money. It's the bills for the fire station too.
Okay, Robert DiPaolo,
Excuse me, yes.
Janelle Keller.
Yep.
Teresa Bells.
Yes.
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Gina Mazzarelli.
Yes.
Okay, I will call Bernardi in the morning Monday, or not Monday, tomorrow, and find out what the current rate is, and just so you know, I'll email everybody a message so you know what it finally came out as. The next item on the agenda is to discuss the tri-party agreement. As you know, we still have a special deal that I did with the levy company, soon to be 4 years ago, where we get enough 23A road mix gravel to do 3 miles a year in the Groveland Township, and we don't pay for it. There's 4 more years after this year, by my records, that's still available, or, and the way I think we wrote the contract, if the pit operates longer than 4 years, I think we get it after that too, if I remember correctly. So this saves us a lot of money that we normally spend every year on gravel. We only pay for the spread. And the spread, that's the trucking company that has to load it up, and then, you know, they're used to, Barry does it, Bedrock does it, Tri-City does it. There's other companies, they end up dropping it so that it comes out pretty much just the way it's supposed to be on the road, and they don't have a whole lot of work on it after that. And it's about 20 grand a road to do the mile for the dropping the gravel on it. So for us, even though we get the gravel free for the year, we pay for the trucking on it, which would typically be about 60 grand. And tri-party funds that we have this year are a little over 60. I think it's 63,000 something. And last year, what we did was we used the tri-party funds after we paid for the balance of Barron Road to pay for the trucking costs. And I apologize, I actually forgot to call the guy that does it back and send him the bill. So he called me up and said, when you give me the bill, because we owe you the money, you did the spread. And so I said, great, let's do that again this year. So if it's 60 grand out of the 63, 2/3 of that's going to come from the road commission for Oakland County and the county itself. We're only going to pay 20 grand to gravel 3 miles of road. And that is a whole lot less than what we used to pay. I did talk to Steve Weiner at Levy Company and just asked them, hey, just so I could tell the board, what do you think roughly the gravel for the 3 miles is? And he was just swagging how many tons he thought it was. I actually think he was low, but he said, I think it's about $57,000 if you pick it up in our pit. And one of the problems with the prices we were getting a couple of years ago from the road commission is the only place they could get enough gravel to mix for the roads they did was to drive up to the Saginaw Valley. Well, when you drive up to the Saginaw Valley and you gotta bring it all the way back here, your trucking cost goes through the roof. Because the guy's not driving for nothing, he's spending, half a day just getting here and back, right? So, them doing it at the pit, the old Kurtz pit here, off of Branch Hall Road, is also a real plus for us. And what he does is, he mixes it for us, and since, contrary to what some people in the township think, I'm not the guy that approves the gravel. We just approve how much we want and which type we want, and we always get the better grade, 23A. But it's actually a road commission engineer that goes out to the site, if you're not buying it directly through them, like from the Saginaw Valley, and looks at that gravel and checks it to make sure it's got the right amount of clay, the right amount of sand, and the right amount of aggregate in it. So if you ever hear anybody saying, I think the township bought cheap gravel this year, because a couple of years ago we had people swearing we took the hills out of Barron Road and spread them over on Croup or something. And I said, there is no Barron Road gravel anywhere but on Barron Road. They took the hills out of the top and they filled the valleys in on the same road, okay? So just so you know, that's how it's actually done. So this saves us a bundle of money, and it will for the next few years. I just need your approval to, again, do what we did last year, and that is send the contract back to the road commission for the tri-party funds to be used for gravel spread, and unless the spread goes up any this year, we'll probably have about $3,000 left over in the fund for next year. Okay, if we need it. I'm not sure what you could do with $3,000 on the road. Maybe you could fill a pothole. I'm not sure. But it'd still be ours, so. My request is, and what I'll make the motion, I guess, that we approve the tri-party fund agreement to again use our tri-party funds for 2024 for spreading the gravel on the 3 miles of road that we do this year.
I'll second that.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? If not, Laura, would you take the roll call on it?
Chanel Keller,
Yes.
Teresa Bells,
Yes.
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Tina Mazzarelli,
Yes.
Robert DiPalma.
Yes. And I'll take care of that one tomorrow morning too. Okay. Next item is the Groveland, chief's in there. Stacy, did you get a chance to talk to him about this dispatch contract?
I don't have his, packet.
Can you hang on, just let me make sure
He said to come get him when
Oh, okay.
it was time for him, but I'm sure he went for him. I just wondered what that meant. I was just gonna let it slide.
We just want to do the dispatch contract, and for those of you who don't know, the Oakland County decided to raise the dispatch fee, and the dispatch fee is what we pay every time a resident calls 911 for an emergency. And I think it used to be about $33 roughly.
32.
Something like that, yeah. This year, I believe it's over 40 now, and all of the supervisors were very upset with this, and in some checking, it would appear that it was not the sheriff that asked for the extra money. What I'm told at our supervisors luncheon was that it was the county commissioner, David Woodward, and the county executive, Dave Coulter, that decided they want some extra money in the fund to do for other projects that they may decide to use. At least that's the discussion that was at the supervisor's lunch. I can tell you it didn't go over very well, because everybody says, depending on how you use the contract and the number of calls you get, it's somewhere between a 25 and a 40% increase. But there's, unless you disagree, Chief, I think we're kind of over a barrel. We either gotta use that, or we gotta have smoke signals for 911.
What they were saying too is it was not just the dispatching services fees, it was the police fees, and basically they're adding to every
Yes.
fee that they can add to.
They did, they raised the deputies' fees, and I was again told that wasn't Bouchard's choice. It was the same people that made that decision, so it's, if you wonder why some
The
stuff's
ones
going
that are
up,
shoving the millages down our throats?
yeah.
Well, I don't be doing it.
Very, very well said, Chief. So, and I guess unless you have anything else you wanted to add, Chief, I just want to know, do you want us to go ahead and approve the contract, because I guess we have to have 911.
Kind of hard to do the job without
Yep.
dispatching, so.
What would you suggest that we get out to the Groveland Township residents? 911 versus this number, please, if it's not really an
Right.
emergency.
Well, there's so many other things tied to that, like all our numbers are generated through them. I physically tried to generate a number one time and it just
It's so
screwed up
nuts.
everything for like 3 days until they fixed it. And, so without a number, we can't generate a patient care report, so this is, this
So
kind of like
the
circling
the bulk of
drain.
your calls are medical related, and
Yeah,
those would have to
95,
go that way anyway, right?
Yeah.
So what you'd be talking about, even if you could do it, would be some of the other 10%, and still if it was a fire, that would be a 911
I mean,
call.
the Village of Holly shut theirs down because it was not economical to do. So, I don't know how we would create one,
No, and I think they do a good job. It's just, we get kind of upset when the cost goes up
Well,
this much and nobody can really tell you
Justify
why.
it?
Yeah, it's called a monopoly, and, when you get a monopoly on how things done, you dictate the rules and the changes. And I don't blame any of the, the people that doing the job, it's clearly came from on high, and they said, this is what it's gonna be. I don't think anyone down, the work level was
No.
like, oh, we're gonna get a big, and I don't even think it affects them, frankly, I don't think they get any of it.
No.
I think
mean,
all it
it's-
goes to a special, funding.
Yeah, it says right there. The rate reflects increased personnel costs for salary increases and associated fringe benefits. The rate also includes indirect costs as required by the Board of Commissioners, so. I don't know.
Which is,
Indirect.
where,
Yeah.
it's where we want some extra money for other projects as maybe assigned.
Right.
I mean, you could speculate where that money's going, has to do with borders and things like that, which is speculation where it's gonna go.
Sure. So
I think they just said special projects, so.
when it says in item number 12 on page 4, that for the months of April 1st, 2024 through March 31st of 2025, that the municipality shall pay the county $3,439.59 a month. Where do they calculate that? That's not the same for every single municipality, right? That's Groveland Township's amount based
Which is
on,
around $1,000 more.
so that's based on what, the number of calls that you had for
It's averages for the
2023?
previous year.
Okay.
Yeah, over
And
the
that's,
last
that's
3
why
years.
those are all different. Some people said, when I looked at it, it was 25% increase, and other people said, no, it's more like 40 for us, because it depends on the number of runs. They kind of base that number off.
Yeah, it says
In part,
right
the
here,
number
average
around
number
it,
of
yeah.
calls over the last 3 years.
Okay,
There's, I hate to say this,
Yeah.
there's just nothing we can do on it, except approve it.
Which the average would
And
be
vote
about
for somebody else
1,000
in
calls
November.
a 1,000 calls a year.
Oh,
yeah. So that,
so we need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the fire dispatch service agreement for the period of April 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2027, as submitted by Oakland County Sheriff's Department.
I'll second that.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, Laura, would you take a roll call on that?
Teresa Bills,
Yes.
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Gina Mazzarelli,
Yes.
Robert DePalma,
Yes.
Chanel Keller, yes.
Ironically, today, or this weekend, I got a bill from dispatch. Usually they're only 2-3 months behind. This one's dated 3/31/24.
Well, I did notice that in the paperwork, because a lot of times the bills don't come when they say they're gonna come in the paperwork, and I did think,
So that's, I think, the first time I got one,
yeah, yeah.
invoice date, so.
Okay, let me just get the rest of this paper off my desk. Okay, next item on the agenda is to request appointment of George Cullis, the supervisor in Holly, to WODA. As you know, with the advent of the Regional Transit Authority millage that got put into 1 mil for the buses and stuff that they do, WODA pretty much runs out of Holly for our residents, and half of our residents identify with Holly because they're on the Holly side of the township with Holly mailing. Half of them identify with NOAA, I think it is the one that works, isn't it, or?
No, Noda?
No,
No,
I'm
no.
sorry.
I don't think they're that far. They're
What's
not
the one
this
that's
far.
using it in the
The senior center.
senior center, I'm sorry, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a different one that does our Groveland residents through the senior center over there. So George said that he would be the representative, and really, he kind of keeps me in the loop. There's not much for us to do, it's really whatever they decide to do out of Holly's village there. Our residents get to use the benefit of it too, and we do have people using it. So, this is a request to have us endorse and recommend George as the representative on WODA.
Who's making this request? WODA himself or
Yeah, I
George?
think, well, WODA wants to have everybody endorse it, and George said, they're putting me up, are you okay with endorsing it? And I said, sure. He's the one that I will use anyway, I'm not gonna move the meetings, he does it. And we don't really impact the changes, they make the changes, and we don't use it. So, I guess that's my motion. I'd make a motion that we approve the appointment of George Cullis to WODA for our transportation services.
I can second that, that makes sense.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay.
George.
Yes,
Yep.
thank you, George.
George, let me make a note here. Work thing for tomorrow, okay. And the next item is to discuss, the progress article. Okay, the Citizen is doing a once a year kind of deal where they do ads to try and promote businesses in all 4 of their publications, which is the Citizen, the Clarkston News, the Oxford Leader, and the Lake Orion Review. And so, a half-page ad's about just under $1,000. The full-page ad is $12.95. And he asked me if we wanted to do something for our tech park. And I think it'd be a good idea to start getting some word out to the people, so, we used our preliminary layout of the park, and then they had a bunch of questions, and Dave was gonna call me back for an interview, and I have to say, I am thrilled that Janelle and Danielle,
Danielle.
Yeah.
the 2 of them, Janelle and Danielle, took it upon themselves when I was out one day to say, Bob didn't fill all these questions in, and I hadn't, because Dave was supposed to call me back, right? But he didn't, but I'm thrilled that both of them remembered all the things that I've been saying, put every one of them into the write-up for it. So, they have it. I think this is a good PR thing, for one, with the paper. They've been very good to us. And for 2, I think it's a good way to start to get the word out that the park is coming. And, it's pretty inexpensive for getting some word out and see what kind of interest we get. So, I would ask that we approve the, full-page ad at $12.95 for all 4 papers. And if you agree, I will call him back tomorrow morning and tell him it's okay for the full page instead of the half page.
You know, this is also gonna appear in your online version,
Yeah.
right? So it's easy to then refer people to this particular publication. You know, if you wanna email them and include a link and say, hey, go to this link, here we go.
Especially until we get our own website set up with the video we're gonna
Right.
get done, so
Right.
I agree.
So you made a motion?
I
Or did-
think I did.
Yeah.
I made a motion to
You did.
approve it for the full page ad.
All right, I'll second that.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, would you take a roll call on that, Laura?
Yes, I can. Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Gina Mazzarelli,
Yes.
Robert Chapama,
Yes.
Janelle Keller,
Yes.
Teresa Bills.
Yes.
Okay, I gotta call him back tomorrow and tell him it's okay for the full page, because I didn't wanna approve it because of the dollar amount until we had a chance to discuss it. Oh, we're doing better on this than I thought, guys.
Yep.
Maureen's last words to me, so when is it you're coming home tonight? I'll be there, kiddo. Okay.
Eventually.
The next item is the lawn care service, I think. Oh, Janelle? you
Yeah,
have it?
they had emailed me this, and I thought I'd bring it in just so you could see what the estimate was. This is who we've used for the last few years. So, A, do we wanna continue? B, do you have an issue? That's pretty much what it's
This
here
guy's
for.
been the cheapest guy around, to be honest. I don't know how he does it, because he's still gotta put gas in the lawnmowers.
Yeah.
This is the one who Patty swears does the cemeteries the best.
Oh, that's, yeah, we've had
So,
some problems there, yeah, good
Mhm.
point. I
Yeah.
forgot that.
And then my only question is, we talked at the budget meeting about putting things in the budget for some landscape improvements and adjustments that desperately need to happen around this
Yeah.
building.
Well, we can do that after this.
That's it, okay, alright,
Yeah, this would just be the lawn care
Yeah, regular
itself,
stuff.
just
regular
the
stuff.
cleanup and cutting.
God bless you.
So it's just for the 2 cemeteries in the township.
Yep, Mount Bethel, Olive Branch, not Olive Tree. But it does say Olive Tree.
Oh.
And of course, here.
I just saw a thing on the History Channel that Olive Garden was originally named Olive Tree. But
Oh.
somebody had the name and
Oh, they have to
sent them
change.
a court order
Yeah.
telling them they had to stop, so we
Yeah.
don't wanna have the cemetery
Yeah.
stopped, right?
I do like the bill to Janelle Keller and ship to Patty back.
I think it should have been the other way around.
Yeah.
So, anyway, yeah, that's, I suppose really informational, and are we okay to continue this through the year?
Somebody wanna make a motion to approve it?
I can motion that,
Okay.
that we approve it for 2024.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Did Gina get that? Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, okay, would you take a roll call? Laura?
Gina,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
Janelle,
Yes?
Teresa,
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and next is to discuss the laptop. I'm sorry, I forgot who asked for that.
This is me.
I apologize.
This was a request,
Oh,
so.
the one you talked to me about, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, yes.
So you'll see there are a couple of quotes, it looks like it's all on one, but this is actually two different laptops on page 2 there. I would personally love, and this is very normal across municipalities, to have a laptop that I could take home, take to, like, for example, next week I'm gone the whole week at a conference. I would love to be able to have that work to take with me, which seems like an oxymoron that I wanna take my work with me. But, again, it's very normal, the majority of municipalities offer this to, their officials. But I do find that many Fridays, sometimes Saturdays,
Yep.
I'm in here, and it would be nice to be able to do some of this work at home and not feel like I have to use a personal device or computer, to do that. So, I would ask the board if you would support it, that maybe you consider there are two different prices here. I know he has a recommendation for one over the other. I would be content with whatever you decided if you were willing to support it. So there are two, one has, 16 gigabytes and one has 8. So you can kinda see his little description that he provided.
What's there's no difference in price?
Not much difference.
It's only about 100, what,
Yeah,
20 bucks?
yeah.
I'd go for the
Yeah, I
better
think
one.
the 16.
What would the cable manager say?
I don't get that. Well, you
Don't
tell me.
make a giggle about
I
it.
would say we get an Apple, actually, so it would be more than both of these.
It'll last too long.
Yeah, mainframe on wheels, right?
That's what he would tell me. But yeah, so that would be my,
Does that 2574 include the one with the 100?
that is actually both computers combined.
Yeah.
So it would be about half that
Oh,
price.
okay, okay.
So you'll see that it'd be about the $1,200 plus they included the Microsoft Office, which is another $270.
So as.
So somewhere around 1,500.
So it's 1,500 now, that doesn't include shipping, and we don't pay tax, so.
Correct.
So as a person who communicated with you both Friday and Saturday this week,
Right?
I will make a motion that we get Janelle a laptop computer, the 16 gigabytes. Unit price is $1,215, with the Microsoft Office 2021 Home and Business Package, $217, and $271, from DC3.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Jim, any other questions or comments from anybody on the board? Laura, would you take a roll call?
Robert Paul,
Yes.
Janelle Keller,
Yes.
Teresa Bills,
Yes.
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Gina Mazzarella.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I have one other item that came in. You should have a copy of a request from Holly Chamber of Commerce. They're doing this walk for hope for kids, you know, to help fight fentanyl and drug overdoses and things. Suicide, suicide prevention, and the information is fairly self-explanatory. If you wanna go on the walk, you can obviously get to them via this correspondence. You go on the walk, but they're also looking for people to donate to it. I did get a late memo today that I think I passed to everybody that said, the president of the chamber just wanted me to understand that the money we might donate to this is not necessarily staying in Holly. It goes to suicide prevention, but it goes to a national group that does it. But, you know, I think this is a good thing. We should probably support it somehow. They had several different levels, and I would be good with whatever the board wanted to do. I think they were in here on one of these sheets. From $250, excuse me, to $500, or to $1,000, $2,500, or $5,000. I was thinking something like either $500 or $1,000. emails and at least, we get mentioned in a newsletter with it, and I think that's good for the township. So I'm open to whatever anybody would like to do, but that's what this document is for.
I know we used to do a nice donation, I mentioned in my email when you sent that out, to when we used to do the breast cancer walks here. Groveland Township was really generous, and I think $1,000 would be appropriate.
Okay, is that,
I'm good with that.
okay, is that you?
I'm sure I can make that motion. I would make a motion that we support the, what are they calling it? Out of the, yeah, the hope walk.
Out of the darkness.
Yeah, out of the darkness, in the amount of a support sponsor of $1,000.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Jim? Okay, are there any other questions or comments from the board?
And I just wondered if maybe we might want to, you get 15 shirts.
Team together or something?
Yeah, maybe even put something out there, maybe some of the residents might be interested in walking it.
I did contact them, by the way, and it's about 2 hours. The
Okay.
event's about 2 hours.
Yes, you wanna have, maybe put that on the
Oh,
cable,
sure.
Janelle, what do you think, Janelle?
Yeah,
cable
Yeah,
channel
why
should get it
not?
out, right?
yeah.
You could probably put it as one of the screens on the sign. too.
Yeah,
Some people
put it out
don't
on the
like,
sign.
So,
Because it's April 20th,
And it's on the Hollis School campus.
it is a local thing, and, suicide is not just out somewhere else, it's,
no,
it's
it's
here
good,
too.
sir, they had a case in Holly that a kid
Yeah, and this is what,
unfortunately died from.
this is what they have decided to do, this is what they put a lot of thought and energy into, and they made the decision to do this, so I agree, I think we ought to support it.
So are we in agreement with $1,000?
Yeah.
And then Janelle, who's gonna tell Vinny, put it on the cable and the sign? I just want,
Well, one of us will tell it,
Okay.
Janelle or I.
and can you take care of getting $1,000 to them?
I can do that too.
Okay, okay, motion to take a roll call on it, Laura?
Yep, Janelle Keller,
Yes.
Teresa Bills,
Yes.
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Gina Mazzarelli,
Yes.
Robert DePalma.
Yes. Okay. Okay, that takes care of that. The one other thing I just wanted to mention to you that came in very late today, so I didn't include it in this. I sent it to Janelle to put in our next agenda. But the chloride contract is coming up from the road commission. So, they raised, shocker, they raised the fee. Okay?
There's some projects.
Yeah, that's a project, right. So, next, month, we're gonna have to decide, it comes up every year. Do we wanna do 4 or 5? We've always done 5 applications. I think there's at least 1 or 2 residents that don't like that. But when we do 4, we usually get people complaining that it wasn't chlorided enough. And it kinda depends on how the weather goes in the summer more than anything else.
Well, last spring, there was like 3 solid weeks of just dust everywhere.
Yeah.
And we were like, when are they gonna come in chloride?
I agree, so I'm just saying, I'm giving you a heads up, for next month, we have to make a decision on it, and I wonder if when you get a chance, can you just pull up, because I don't know what the increase is. I think this is like 6 or 8 grand more.
Sure.
Just by the time we go to next month, so that's all. In fact, if you want, I'll give you this. Well, I'm just thinking, I gotta ask Barry if he wants the hall room, because he pays for that.
Okay.
So I'll ask him for that. I think I sent you the email on this.
What? So that's for chloride?
Yeah.
So is this just the spreading of the chloride?
Yeah.
For tri-party?
No, not for tri-party.
That's
No,
for
this
the
tri-party,
miles.
Gravel.
That's for the 3
that's for
miles they put
the
down.
the
This is
spreading
how-
is for the gravel.
Spreading the gravel.
But the road commission does the chloriding, and this charges for the chloride and spreading it.
Oh.
They put it in those big tanker trucks, that's what they do.
That's for the spreading of the
Chloride,
chloride.
yeah. That tri-party is for the gravel stuff.
That's for the 3 miles, the chloride, the 3 miles they put
Just
down.
the 3 miles they put.
Yes. Which will use a total of 60,000
Yes.
probably.
Well, I was seeing this chloride there, and I was wondering, where is that going? The tri-party agreement.
They
That's
will
why I was
actually
like, wait,
chloride the
what?
3 miles they put down?
It says spreading of gravel and chloride. I don't know, that's why I was wondering.
Well, you know why he probably has that on there? When they spread gravel, usually the first thing they do after that is come back with a
Which
shot
makes
of
sense.
chloride,
Okay, let's see.
or it gets
Yeah.
too dusty right
Okay.
away and torn up. So, I will on this one, I gotta get a hold of Barry, let me make a note here. 6, Hall Barry. And make sure he still wants to get the Hall Road. And I'll let him know how much, okay?
So we'll
That's to
have
do
our
for-
first budget.
Okay, now that moves on to miscellaneous reports. First one's Holly Area Youth Assistance.
So I don't have a whole lot because, if you recall last month that they were moving their meeting, so they met the same night that we did, but they don't meet again until next week. So I have not received any reports and I did not go to the meeting. Obviously, I was at this meeting. But they are doing it now the third Monday of the month. So I don't have a whole lot of information to share. We do still have a vacancy for anyone if they want to sit in on that and on Hyatt. As a representative of Groveland Township. But other than that, I don't really have anything to share.
Okay.
So I won't until next month.
BGYA,
Okay, so Brandon Groveland Youth Assistance.
breakfast.
So I'll start with the last Thursday, there was a sponsor breakfast, and they had approximately 60 people attend. Bob and I were both there, and they were for anybody within the community that has any affiliation with, or support for Brandon Groveland Youth. So they had a speaker. He was from the Oakland County Juvenile Court.
I thought it was very good.
He was very good, keynote speaker, all right? He summarized the changes in the juvenile legislation designed to refer more kids to youth assistance, and that there's more money allocated, or going to be allocated in the future, and it was a substantial amount of money. So some speculation on perhaps there would be money for an additional caseworker, because out here there is one caseworker, Tasha, and she does both Holly Area Youth and BGYA. So there's some optimism there that perhaps another full-time caseworker could be assigned out this way, so they wouldn't have to share any longer. Next, we've been approved for the Wojo's fundraiser. I know I like to think spring, so Wojo's will donate 10% of anything that is spent on June 1st and 2nd. So they don't let you do anything from Mother's Day through Memorial Day. So that
Big
Wojo's,
days anyway,
yeah. So we put in for June 1st and 2nd, and that was approved. So if you can hold off on buying your things until then, or at least some of them then. Then the youth recognition event is happening on April 25th. The nominations were due Friday, March 1st, and there were quite a few nominations. There's going to be approximately 60 students recognized this year at the event, but approximately 180 that are from groups like Student Council, Safety Patrol, and so on, that are actually going to be given, we're designing a new type of award or recognition certificate. It's called a Certificate of Appreciation for Making Your Community a Better Place. And that's going to come specifically from BGYA to those students, to encourage them to continue with their volunteering and so on, and to hopefully challenge them to go above and beyond what the norms of the group would be, so that maybe they can be recognized up on the big stage in the future. So the other thing is, Brandon's school district asked for anybody to put some input into their strategic plan. They're doing a strategic plan survey, and you can find information on their website to take this survey. They want to know what you think are the greatest issues facing students, how would you describe the district, and what are the greatest strengths of the school district. I'm sure there's probably some other questions, but you can do that. I think that's good through this month. So if you can make that, they requested that we ask people to do that. As always, check their website and Facebook page for other updates. And their meeting is tomorrow, which I'll go to.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you. Okay, Planning Commission, Jim?
In the Planning Commission, there were essentially two items. One was to approve, have some dialogue first, but approve an ordinance for outbuildings in general, but also perhaps more particular rather, in the front of buildings. And then we approved a particular instance where I believe someone's home is burned to the point where they were requesting temporary living quarters, which we approved over the course of rebuilding the home.
We've done that several times.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Okay, is that,
Yeah, that's all I can think of.
okay, it's planning commission. Gina, BZA?
No meetings. There is an additional training at the end of April. That
I
both
think almost
planning-
everybody signed up.
I hope so. There was only one person missing last time. So I would hope that they would, join us this time. And, I do have a planning commission question, and that would be where we're standing on the revisions of the original. Did you guys discuss that? The plan that didn't turn out to have the just corrected
Yeah.
language cleaned up in it.
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
It hasn't been discussed, but
Okay.
the point that I was gonna bring up, so we can just talk about it, would be, I think we're in a position to talk about a new plan in general.
Yeah.
And maybe that'll be part of the new plan, I don't know, but at our next.
I actually think that Danielle said, I could be wrong, she did this on a day when I had 15 other things going on at the same time, but I think Danielle said that Liz got back to her on it, and I thought she had it in pretty good shape for the final review. Once we get that done, I agree, we'll go out to bid for a new plan.
Well, I just wanna say, when we had it come to us, I had expressively asked for a copy of everything, and I was given a copy, and then I would ask for, I just wanna, show me what the changes are, because I can't differentiate. There was nothing in bold.
Yeah, it was terrible.
And it was never provided, and it wasn't any mishap of anyone in Groveland Township. It was strictly, could not come from that. So I, in good faith, said, okay, planning commission did due diligence, and then the next month, planning commission was here saying, can you please recant that approval, because it's not right. So I'm gonna be hesitant, and I wanna avoid that from
We'll have
happening
to
again.
talk to Danielle when she gets in tomorrow, but I'm pretty sure I think she went through that with Liz, and I thought it was ready to go back to the planning commission. I think, so if it is, when we get
Well,
that done,
I
that's when
wouldn't
we're
know
gonna
that, Danielle
yeah,
would.
yeah, when we get, if we're done with that, that's when we'll put the bid out for the Oh, for
But yeah, no meetings, so.
Okay, for supervisor, Angela did a really nice job of putting the notes I wanted together and spacing it so everybody will be able to take questions and jot down stuff when we do the review for the property going forward. And I got 2 or 3 more pieces of supporting data that I knew were coming. They came in today. I think I got 2 things left to do, 2 meetings left to have, and 2 documents to come in, and I have everything, so then I'll give the whole board, we'll set up an agenda meeting, so if it's not late in March, it'll be very early in April, and we'll see if we can get the park off to the races, okay? Clerk.
Well, let's see, my time has been devoted to elections, pretty much since I started here. So we had our 10 days of the election for early voting. This, of course, was the first time that we had it here in Groveland Township. We only had about 120 people come through over the course of those 9 days. So our election inspectors got some crocheting done and some books read. But you know what? They did a great job while they were there, and
crocheting or the election?
both. I noticed I just left that a blanket statement. But no, we have a wonderful team that works our elections, and I'm very, very grateful for them.
Yeah.
Because it was a learning curve for everybody, just trying to figure out, some of the new procedures and how things work for these early voting days. So overall though, even with election day, we still only had about, I think it was 27% of Groveland Township registered voters come out and vote. So it was still a pretty small election overall, and that was consistent across the state.
But I think with all the changes we have, kudos to you and your team, because it went off, really, I thought, without a hitch.
It did go over very well.
And I had
very
0
grateful.
complaints, nobody any complaint about anything. I thought you guys did a great job considering all the new processes that were added.
Yes, all of the fun
So
new
can I
pieces.
ask, did this suspend for 9 days actually go through on the 10th day?
It did. It
Okay.
did, yeah.
Okay.
So for those of you
Okay.
who don't know kind of how that works, each day we have a machine that suspends every night. So instead of transmitting any results or sending results to the county, it essentially just holds them until election night. And then we have to have a special team come in on election night. So a devoted, it has to be Republican or Democrat. You can have more people, but you have to have a minimum of 2. And then they have to reboot that machine up on election night, because we don't do early voting the Monday before the election. So they have to boot it back up after 8 PM on election night to send those results in. So,
Could they make it any more cumbersome?
yes. Listen, don't
challenge them.
Don't challenge them.
Right. Did you hear anything, any feedback from like Brandon clerk or Springfield clerk or anything?
I know that some of them have trouble transmitting. I do know that. As far as their overall early voting went, I don't know. I think it sounded like everything was pretty status quo, pretty slow.
It
for
had to
most
be the
people.
most expensive early voting
yes.
in the world.
That's on the MTA block, is the
Yes.
expense.
Well, and I will tell you, because we did have the option with partnering with the county, and the nice thing, even though it does sound like we had small numbers, percentage-wise, we had a larger portion of our residents show up here than those who partnered with the county to participate in that. So,
Because they didn't have to drive.
because they didn't have to drive as far, I'm sure. So if there's a small win, a small victory in that, I'm glad that we were able to serve the public by being able to have a little bit more of that accessibility. I'm sure that in August and November, because it will be offered, we'll see a little bit more of an increase in participation. I don't know if it'll be significant, but we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. But overall, the election went great. I'm thankful for the people who work on our team. Certainly Laura, we battled it for many days, even outside of those early voting days. So, but it went well. We're now rolling into the next election, because we know we have a Goodrich initiative, a ballot proposal. It's the same thing that they offered up in November, but they're trying it again in May. So our election commission met. We are donating our voters. We're consolidating with Atlas Township. So our Groveland Township residents who are Goodrich school voters will go to Atlas Township to vote. So we're kind of still pulling all that together, but we still will have to issue all of the ballots. We'll have to be open the weekend before the election, and then we will also still have to be open from 7 AM to 8 PM on election day to assist any voters. So that'll be coming up here in just a couple of weeks, so we're already getting ready to send out applications. I voted sticker contest is still underway, so if you have kids that are in the school system, Holly, Brandon, or Goodrich, encourage them to participate in that. We're hoping something will be flying out in the paper soon. I met with our handyman today to go over, I think, the majority of the projects that everybody wanted done. So he is going to be back tomorrow to start slugging away, just little bits here and there. And then the big thing for me right now is next week, just as a reminder, I will be gone at the conference for NAMC. So that is a three-year series. So this is year 2 for me to receive that certification. So.
By the way, I asked Kevin what he thought about not sealing those cracks.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't agree with it.
I wondered.
Yeah,
We were talking about it earlier.
yeah, I think we should seal them, but we could ask him.
Yeah. So that's about all I have. I'm sure I've forgotten something, but that's what I have for you today.
Teresa, anything else?
I'll keep it short. Taxes, if you are one of the few that still has not paid, I did my due diligence. I tried, and Angela, kudos to Angela for helping me with all of this. We reached out to as many residents and property owners as we could to try to get as many people as possible to get things paid here in the township. We went from 127 unpaid parcels on February 15th to 80 that are currently in the process of being sent down to Oakland County. So, and most people were very, very appreciative, like, oh my goodness, I forgot, you know, and things like that. So, working on settlement coming up soon here, and, I think that's pretty much about it. Oh, March Board of Review is currently, underway. Today,
Yeah, we were
as we
swamped
speak.
today, they had one.
Well, we had a few people on the first day, on Tuesday the 5th, and then I think we have an appointment on Wednesday, but Wednesday we're open for March Board of Review. We're open tonight till 9 for Board of Review, and then Wednesday 1 to 4:30 and 6 to 9. And then, after that, they'll get all the final numbers together for the tax roll for 2024. And so, I just wanna do a big shout out, kudos, thank you to Angela for all of her, diligent, meticulous work in posting all the tax payments and keeping things completely up to date as far as, BSA online goes. She's a gem. Thank you, Angela.
Okay, good. Well, that moves to public comment. Is there any comment from the public? Okay. Duly noted. Thank you, Dave. Okay, seeing none, I would move that we adjourn and reconvene for the fire board meeting. Is there a second to that
Second
motion?
that.
To Teresa. Okay, any questions or comments from the board? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned and reconvened for the fire board meeting. Bring your karaoke mic.
Well, thank you all for coming.
You chased the audience away. Dave left.
So we had 89 calls for February. As you can see, that's up since 2017, actually. And then you go up with 199 or 200 calls for the month, for the year, I should say. So that's a pretty good track. We're a little bit down on call volume right now. I think we're a little bit less than 2 calls a day. As I talked to some of the members, I also included the incident breakdown. I left off Sean Dobbs on there. I talked to some of the board members, and I'd like to hire him into the full-time slot. Sean's been working with us for, I don't know,
August 2020.
forever. And he's very reliable, picks up a lot of extra shifts for us, and I think he's an excellent candidate. When we reviewing before for people for full-timers, Sean wasn't interested in the full-time position, but he is now. So I'd like to recommend him to fill the full-time slot that's been open for, well, Jeff Burdess's old full-time slot. It's not a safer spot, even though on the budget it shows safer, but we're gonna.
But that's because that's always original.
We're gonna change it to just whoever it is. So I'd like to recommend him for filling the full-time slot.
Do we need to have a more specific, like, is the salary something that's already listed?
It's already listed, and then they go up next month anyway, but I've left that salary in there. It's for 206-336-702-014. That salary is for 52-153. And then again, you're getting a 3% pay raise, and I added $2,500 to that spot on the
budget. Okay.
So 3% plus $2,500 increase. So I don't know what that comes to. If I had my other paperwork.
Well, I guess I can calculate. It doesn't matter if it's in the budget and then.
It
it's
is in the budget.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, somebody want to make the motion?
I'll make a motion that we hire Sean Dobbs full-time at the salary and benefits rate that is listed in the budget.
I'll support.
Is there any other questions or comments from the board?
56,218.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the board? And you seconded? Okay, Laura, would you take a roll call?
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Gina Mazzarella,
Yes.
Robert DePalma,
Yes.
Janelle Keller,
Yes.
Teresa Bells.
Yes.
Welcome, Sean.
Congratulations.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Sean.
It's been a pleasure working here and hope to continue.
Good thing to say on the day you're hired.
That's right.
Welcome though, glad to have you. Okay, what else, chief?
I'd like to hire Austin Murphy. He lives on Prairie Road right by Baldwin. He's an untrained individual. He wants to join as a paid-on-call fire trainee. And he's come to one of the trainings at least so far. And you know how we do that, we get him and then we train him, and I'll do, like Gina recommended that we, or insisted I should say, that we give them a certain amount of time frame that they have to do for a payback.
Yeah.
Currently, there's no fire schools going on, so, and there's a slowdown on them, but if we can get him into an EMT class or something like that. He has his own lawn care service, and his wife is having a baby already, sometime this month. So he was looking for something else to do. I told him he couldn't work shifts for about almost 2 years, but he didn't think that, he thought that was okay. I think what prompted was the fire across the street from him, so.
Oh, that fire that you had was across the street from
Yeah,
you?
just basically, you know the house, Bob, it's the one that has the changing room that's around the pond.
Oh, that's the one that had the fire?
No, across the street.
Street from, oh, okay.
But he lives at that.
Okay.
Corner, very cool.
Yeah, okay, I know where it is. Excuse me. Okay, so you need a motion, right?
Yes, please.
So I will motion that we hire Austin Murphy as an untrained paid-on-call firefighter trainee with reciprocity.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? If not, Laura, take a roll call on it.
Robert DePalma,
Yes.
Janelle Keller,
Yes.
Teresa Bills,
Yes.
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Gina Musarelli.
Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to hire Naomi, is it Baxa?
What's her
Yeah.
I think it's Baxa. I just know her as Naomi. She's a firefighter paramedic, IC flight medic. She works for Springfield Fire.
Oh.
And she told Jeff Burdess and Jonesy that she wanted to work up here, so I'd like to hire her as a fill-in firefighter paramedic.
I'm just curious, does she wanna work the extra hours at
I think it's the magnetic personality of the chief is why she wants to work up here.
Okay, duly noted, thank you, chief.
Hey, you do what it takes, right?
We'll second the motion, go ahead.
I think, you know, with Jonesy and Jeff telling her how we operate up here, I think, you know, that's how we get a lot of people to just enjoy working up here.
Good, okay, I was just curious, that's all.
Did we make a motion?
No, we have to have a motion though.
Oh.
Yeah, somebody.
Everyone started laughing for some reason.
All right, I'll make a motion that we hire Naomi Batsa for firefighter paramedic IC, flight medic, Springfield, and gonna be a fill-in firefighter and paramedic.
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, would you take a roll call?
Janelle Keller, yes. Teresa Bills,
Yes.
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Gina Musarelli,
Yes.
Robert DePalma.
Yes. Okay, next one.
Something we've been talking about, and Angie's already doing it, but we wanted to start a CERT team, which is basically the Civilian Emergency Response Team. And what they do is they'll bring us, you know, waters and bring us pizzas and things like that, kind of a runner for us when we're on the fires, like we're on that one on Perryville. I think we were out there for almost 8 hours, and we're out there for quite some time, and usually we don't have people to break away to go get that kind of stuff. So what I'd like to do is hire Angie, and I already talked to her about heading it up, and I'm guessing maybe get 4 or 6 people. I'd like to add them to the payroll, and you know, we're only do this, you know, a few times a year, so it's not gonna be a big amount. But it also, it gets us out on the insurance, so in case something happened while if they were on the scene. And I was planning on buying like a prepaid card out of probably petty cash.
Oh, to get the
That way.
pizzas or
give it
whatever
to her
to
to
pick
go
up.
get it. And if she goes to Beaky's, we have an account there, but Beaky's isn't open 24/7 anymore, so. So I'd like to recommend we hire Angie Adderholt to head up the CERT team, and basically, like I said, we'll do some of those things and kind of let her figure out what she wants to do, and then if there's any other changes we need to
that motion?
Yeah, I will make a motion that we hire Angie Airholt for what she's already doing as heading up the Groveland Township Fire Department CERT team.
Is there a second?
She has an hourly rate already.
I was just gonna pay her at EMT rate basically, is what
Okay.
I was thinking. Primarily, just wanna get her on the insurance just in case there's an incident on scene.
Okay. Is there a second to Gina's motion?
I'll support.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the board? If not, Laura, take a roll call.
Teresa Bills,
Yes.
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Gina Mazzarelli,
Yes.
Robert DiPalma.
Yes.
Janelle Keller.
Yes.
Okay. Last item, chief.
And the last one is, you know, we've been doing those CPR classes and we've had some, good attendance on those. Teddy has told me we need to buy some more, I think it's 4 or 5 AED simulators.
You've been getting residents to come to?
Oh, yeah,
Good.
quite a few actually, recently. It's all because of the sign, I think.
Probably.
Yeah,
Since
a
they
lot
put
of
on
it
the sign,
is.
we get a lot more, and a lot of people for the smoke detectors too.
Mm-hmm.
So, he put together a sheet, and they had tax on it, I think it was 4 or 5 AEDs and pads. It was gonna cost like $540, but you take the tax off, it'd be about $500. We were gonna buy them, but I said, let me bring it to the board, see, since they bought the mannequins and things, if they wanted to buy them for us, so. It's up to you guys, if we're gonna buy them, if you don't wanna do it, but, if you could approve.
Well,
it,
you're a little squeaky on the
$500.
budget anyway, so I'll make a motion that we spend up to $500
$500, and that's
for some AED stimulators and pads.
simulators.
Simulator.
Oh, yeah, okay, simulators.
It's like
Duly
insurrection.
noted, okay.
Practice.
Simulators
I like that.
and pads for the training classes the fire department's been providing. Is there a second?
I'll second that, I think it's a community event.
Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
agree.
And that's
Yeah.
why I think it was appropriate for township
Okay.
to cover that.
Motion, second, any other questions or comments from the board?
Nope.
If not, Laura?
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Gina Mazzarelli,
Yes.
Robert DiPalma.
Yes.
Janelle Keller.
Yes.
Teresa Bills.
Yes.
And Janelle, we'll just buy them and then when I get the invoice, I'll bring it to you, so we can do that. And then, I believe it's the 23rd, we're gonna have another CPR class. I'll be at Station 1, and, I don't know how many we got so far, but, we'll let,
Is Vinnie back that we put it
Mrs.
on?
Todd know.
Oh,
Is Vinnie back that we
She
put
did
on?
bring some, home cooked meals to us the other day, so.
Oh, that was
I wasn't there, I think I was here, but
What time is the class?
usually starts like at 9 and goes for like 4 hours. And then he also teaches, if they want, or they're able, a first aid class too, and that takes the whole day, it's like 8-hour class, but I think he's done that once or twice now, so.
There's been quite a few,
Yeah.
actually, for that.
And I mean, we get,
First aid CPR.
we're fielding calls frequently for that, so. I think it's great for the community.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great
Oh,
idea.
absolutely.
It's good PR, it's good for them to have the training, it's great. And it's, I'd be the first to say, it's one of those things, even when you go through it, then it's hard to remember if you don't use it all the time.
And the expense for the cards, we're just absorbing that in the fire department, and I also pay him his regular salary when he teaches the class, so. So it's working out well.
No, Good stuff. Thank you, Chief,
That's
good
all I
job.
had, if there's any questions.
No, but if you want that, like if you're getting close to those dates when, I know sometimes he'll have a couple people, but maybe not enough for a class. Definitely let us know because that's a good time to push Facebook, like, hey, we have 2 spots available.
Oh, good
Sometimes
idea,
people
yeah.
jump at that kind of stuff instead of just, oh, we've got a free program.
We'll let
So-
Teddy know and, have
Yeah.
him get in touch with you.
Yeah.
You guys have anything?
Good point. Okay, and any other questions or comments from the public? You chased Dave away, so.
Didn't you guys just apply for another grant? What was that one?
We
Yes.
applied for what's it called?
It's the AFG grant for
AFG.
PPE.
So we put in for 40 cents a year at like $184,000.
84,000.
Yeah, year's expensive.
Mhm.
And then, she's working on one for a, skid unit. It's what they said is skid unit, but it sounds more like a tank.
It sounds like portable.
I don't know if this is of any help, but in one of my discussions with Matt Danaskas, I told him that we would be interested in some help on getting money for roads or the electric service in there. And I said, but you need to understand, I don't have a grant writer. I'm not like Orion that has a full-time grant writer on staff. And he said, I got access to those. So I don't know if it's something you need. I'm sure there's a charge for it, but I know that on a lot of grants, until you put the magic words in them, they don't go anywhere.
Well,
So if it looks like something you think it might be like that, we could ask Matt what they would charge, or who
we wrote it up and we had the lady with the master's degree chop it for us. And she cleaned it up quite a bit. She changed happy to glad and that was
Well, I only mention it so you know there are ways to get that resource if we need it, because people like Orion have one that's full-time on it.
honestly, the chiefs were talking about hiring one just for that purpose. But they were gonna look into who's available and who's good at it, you know,
Yeah.
type deal, and what's the cost.
Matt says he's got a couple he uses.
Yeah, we always use them.
Okay. Well,
It's funny how the grants you get them is like due next week, but it takes a year and a half to get an answer
Yeah.
from them. So we did put in for the, I don't think we got any money back for the camera system yet.
No, not yet.
And then we did get, there
And
was 2
Danielle and
grants for
I,
gear, and we got the gear for one, the first one we got, didn't we? We didn't get all the gear yet?
Danielle and I
Takes about
sat in
12
on a
weeks.
class that might pay some big money for that charging cell they want to put in.
Oh.
A big hunk of money, but I can't get the charging cell gal to call me back because she's got to give me her draft of her ordinance first, so I need to call her too.
Is there a hold on gear like there is everything else?
No, it's just takes how long to make it. But I think it took a year to get Jeff's gear.
Yeah, we got that through calls. Most of them are average probably about 12 weeks, some of them are 16 to 20 weeks to get the gear. 12 weeks, so the first 3 sets we got with the $10,000 grant, last summer through the state of Michigan, or last fall. Those should be in, the hats, boots, gloves, and Nomex are in, but the coat and pants are not. And then the other 2, we got the matching grant from the DNR. They're ordered, but that just happened here last month, so we're still a couple months out on that.
Okay, there's nothing else. Motion to adjourn is in order.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.